Welcome to Capernaum. This is a special town. It is believed that this is the place where Peter and Jesus lived in biblical times. The town was founded likely around the 2nd century BCE, and it is a small fishing village that existed during biblical times. I will show you four places in this town: a synagogue, a collection of houses, the house of Peter, and the Sea of Galilee. Here's first the synagogue, this building that I'm walking towards. You might be wondering, how can a village of fishermen afford to build a synagogue of white marble? Well, that's because the white marble was actually added later. If you look below the white marble, you will find a foundation of a black stone basalt. That is the foundation of the biblical synagogue. I am now entering the Roman synagogue. It was built by the Byzantines in the 4th or 5th century CE. This synagogue, you can see the architecture is very Greek. The Romans used Greek architecture in their buildings. This place is featured in many of the Gospels. This is where Jesus taught at a synagogue. This is where they lowered a man through the straw roof who needed healing. This is the place that has all of the stories of Jesus proclaiming the kingdom that is to come. Not with this architecture, definitely, but certainly in the foundation of this building is the original synagogue. And again, here you can see a little bit of that black stone that serves as the foundation for the synagogue. I am now approaching the side of the synagogue, and behind this wall that I am about to cross is a collection of houses. So you can see a labyrinth of homes directly through this side courtyard's gate. So this is believed to be the foundation for all these houses. This is where people lived. There are some courtyards in the middle. There are two courtyards in this town where people traded and were housed, where they received guests, where they received Jesus. Many of the stories in the Bible take place in this small town. The back of the synagogue has another labyrinth of houses. This is likely also containing a market. So probabilities are that some of these houses also served as stores where people could do some trading of either craft goods or food. This is a fishing village. The next thing that I'm going to show you is this area right here, this courtyard, which is quite beautiful. It is obviously a modern creation, but pilgrims will go here and sit and listen to either a sermon or a prayerful reflection, very much reminiscent of how Jesus talked to many people. Here to my left is an example of pilgrims hearing a reflection and singing. All right, so I showed you two things, the synagogue and the collection of houses. The third thing I'm going to show you is underneath this building. This is a modern building, 1990s. And the modern building that is behind this tree is built over what is believed to have been the house of St. Peter. What happened here? Well, excavators dug up a bunch of churches built on top of churches. Underneath this octagonal structure, where the tip of the octagon almost touches the ground, you can barely see it because it's so dark, is a 1st century structure. It is a house that has the word Peter engraved onto the wall. So scholars are in debate as to whether Peter lived here or whether Peter officiated masses here. You can also see that there are octagonal structures around this structure underneath it. So there's like a weird stone structure with a door and then an octagon. That octagon was built in the 4th or 5th century, again by the Byzantines. It was a church that was built on top of Peter's residence / Peter's chapel. On top of that church, in the 1990s, 1980s, 1990s, the Franciscans built this beautiful memorial to Peter. I am now going inside so you can see the sanctuary itself. You can see many pilgrims um, exiting the church. This structure mimics the structure that is underneath um, itself. And you can find a glass structure, a glass window in the floor. This is meant to be um, for tourists or for pilgrims to peek down and see the house of of Peter himself. Now, if Jesus lived with Peter here and there, then Jesus must have resided in this house as well. But there is scholarly debate on that, on whether Jesus actually was housed by Peter. But it would make sense since Peter was the number one disciple and Jesus spent a long time here in Capernaum. This was Jesus' base of operations from where he likely went to different towns to spread his message. You can see a beautifully ornate mosaic altar, and I like the circular structure of the church. It fosters community, very much like the early Christian communities who were very much about building a group of people and a community of solidarity. I am now walking outside of the church and will go around it to show you the fourth piece, which is one of the most beautiful sights. It is the Sea of Galilee. If you can think of passages where Jesus is on water, either calming a storm or walking on water or telling people to cast nets and yield a great catch, this is that sea, the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus performed all those miracles. There's a point in which Jesus is on a boat preaching towards people who were on the rocks. So this is the shore. A lot of people had gathered on the shores, and Jesus was on the boat preaching to them. This is the place where so many of these amazing words were spoken by our Savior. I am going to get close to the water and be quiet, allowing you to kind of absorb this moment. And with that, we will conclude our tour. If you can, get yourself into a prayerful headspace where you can imagine yourself taking a leap and walking on water with Christ. This is where that happened.
on top of the build-out house, you can still see the fields, and there's beautiful gorges over there. There's glaciers over there. It's like